some folks have a strange idea of entertainment. And I hope that's you guys, because we're talking a new Twilight Zone, Lucifer Does Vegas, and much more next.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Sorry, I'm just gonna let this simmer. I do love this song. But hey guys, I'm Lucretia Lyon, so this is Horror TV Weekly. We are back, just like Jason. We do live. You guys can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one, but there isn't only one person here. I have my lovely co-host to my left, starting with...
Hey guys, this is Chauncey K. Robinson, and you can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR.
All right, and the gentleman.
And my name's Roger Corral, and you can find me at Roger Corral on Twitter.
All right, so let's just get right into it. We've got a lot of news this week because Amazon just secretly dropped a new horror pilot with Glenn Close.
Like, they pulled a Beyonce.
Came out of nowhere.
That was a Beyonce. Yeah. That was good. I think it was Friday afternoon. They threw it in, and I think it's part of their new pilot series. I didn't know about this. I saw it. I didn't realize it was just a one episode type of deal. This is good, guys. This is really good. So the show, it has Glenn Close. It's pretty awesome because you have this Emmy Award-winning actress, and I'm not sure if you guys know about the premise, but it looks like a typical show. You know, she lives with her grandkids or her nieces, nephews. Mm-hmm. She's on the show. She works at a 99-cent store.
Yeah, she's straight up working class. I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, it's a regular, middle class. I don't even know if it's middle class at this point.
Yeah.
And then at some point she dies, and Glenn Close comes back as Glenn Close zombie.
Whoa, so like that song even worked for this? I was like, it's a zombie thing, and I'm like, so Glenn Close is a zombie,
right? And she's cursing the whole time, like it's an angry zombie. It's.
Glenn Close is an angry zombie. I'm like, I have to watch this. I hadn't had time since it dropped, and I was like, this show looks so good just by reading what it's about. Like, just with that little headline of the article, I was like, I'm going to watch this.
It's so well done. And I feel like it makes me happy because I feel like for the longest time, nobody wanted to do horror. So, to see someone like Glenn Close embrace a character like that, it's pretty awesome.
I think it's also cool that they're kind of they're putting the genre on top of its head. Because, sometimes there's this idea with zombie apocalypse, like it's all sexy and like there's young people. And it's like, here's Glenn Close, who's like, all right, she's badass. But like, it's like she's the older aunt or whatever. And it's letting her play this kind of role, which is really interesting to watch, I think.
And too, like Glenn Close is usually like this very well put together woman. This is a real more of a turn on its head for her in other aspects as well, which is cool. And she's just such a powerhouse. And I do like that we're getting different types of zombie stories. Like The Walking Dead sort of turned that genre on its head, and we've had like Santa Clarita Diet, and now this.
iZombie.
iZombie. Zombies can be funny, guys.
No, we're seeing that. I mean, in this particular show, Glenn Close is playing kind of a rundown character, working class. She works as a cashier. She's kind of a little bit of a pushover, which is interesting to see.
Yeah.
Like Glenn Close play that because, like, if you remember, like Damages, that show she was in, which was awesome.
The complete opposite of that.
Yeah, the total opposite. Cruella de Vil, hello, and then it's like this, and it's like, wow, this is different.
And in this show, she's a cashier. I think right before she turns into a zombie, they demote her back into being a greeter. So, Glenn Close is pissed off. Yeah, Glenn Close.
Life is just beating her down.
And then I think they shoot at her apartment. Like, things are not going well for Glenn Close in the first, 10 minutes of this. So it's awesome. Like, I hope this keeps going because it's really quirky and fun.
I do wonder how long we're going to have to wait because, it's the pilot, and now I guess the question is if it's going to get picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that this is part of their pilot season that they do, because I know I just recently watched, as wasn't Skyliner. I'll think of the name later. But it was a good little cartoon pilot that I really enjoyed with Richard Spade Jr. from Supernatural. And, they've had several other things come up, like lore was one of the things that people are able to vote on, which is what I love about Amazon is they want people to watch these and show what people actually want to see.
Yeah.
Amazon, to me, is actually more on the forefront of the original content, more so than Netflix in a lot of ways right now, just because of the way that they're doing it, I think is more unique. And, I personally loved The Tick and was so glad.
That's how The Tick got picked up, right?
Actually pretty good. It was actually pretty good. And I think, you're onto something with that because Netflix, I know some of the complaints with shows when it comes on, it's like you don't know. Like they just, it's like you don't know because they're secretive on the ratings. You don't know how many people watch. And it's just like, and then they say, okay, we're cutting this off after. It's like, well, how do we know that it was good or bad? Did you ask us? We have a big, they did that with Sense8 where it was like, you know.
And Sense8 certainly was a lot better than some of their other stuff. The Rich.
Isn't that still going?
It is, and that's why, because I saw it taping when I was trying to take a family member to a sitcom, and I'm like, that's still on, and they canceled Sense8, and Santa Clarita Diet got picked up, but still doesn't have a second season. I'm like, this good stuff.
Didn't Hemlock Grove get canceled?
Yeah,
and that was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
too.
That was a good show. I love Famke, so.
Good stuff, man.
But speaking of stuff that is at least still going, the Scream reboot is still in production despite the Weinstein scandal, which is great because a lot of stuff has been getting canceled left and right just because, you don't want the poison pen there.
Yeah.
But it is good to see that the new season of Scream is coming with Tyler Posey. So, do you guys watch that show at all? Or
I didn't. I will get into it now that Tyler's on it because I do like his work, and we won't see him anymore on Teen Wolf because that's over with. So it's nice that he was able. I think Keke Palmer.
Yes, I love Keke. She was
and she came. She's done some great stuff, and she's also
Scream Queens,
Queens, right? Which isn't coming back, right?
Yeah,
and I think that's done too.
Yeah, there was no official word that I could ever find about Scream Queens.
I think Ryan Murphy just stopped talking about it.
Yeah, it was a fun show, but I will say, the second season was a little bit harder than the first after a while.
Typical Ryan Murphy.
Although, we're seeing Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be in the new Halloween.
Yeah, so Jamie Lee Curtis just has to be on my screen. I'm good.
It balances out.
Yeah.
Sorry, hopefully I'm not too loud. But while we're on the subject of shows that are getting canceled that were horror-esque, The Mist ran for a season on Spike and it got chopped really fast.
Yeah, and it is on Netflix right now. I think that is one of those that Netflix talked about doing another season. Let me see if I'm not mistaken.
True. I have seen it on Netflix.
Yeah.
I added it to my queue recently.
Yeah, let me see.
That'd be awesome. That's the thing with some of these shows. You feel like they need to give it a chance. That's the question.
You need
with,
it to grow. Yeah.
Superstition. I think on Sci-Fi, where people are worried that it may not make it through the first season because people are like they didn't promote it. Sci-Fi didn't promote it as much and things like that. So it's the question of. So it's like you're saying. It's great that they're keeping with the reboot because what we're seeing with this avalanche of stuff going on in Hollywood right now is that it's not just the people being accused and dealing with this fallout, the victims and things. It's all the people who have to work with these projects. It's like what happens there too. There's so many ramifications.
And that's unfortunate. Yeah, no one else should suffer for all this. There's a lot of hardworking people in all of these projects.
And that is the double-edged sword there is we don't want these people to profit that are these predators, but at the same time, there are so many other people involved that it's like, how do we cut the head off
right? Without, that was the thing with House of Cards, right? Kevin Spacey, and everyone's like, just give it to the wife.
That's the thing is Robin Wright, and that's the thing is at least Netflix is working to see if they can do that because it would be so devastating to the city of Baltimore that's already has so much turmoil as it is, and to me that's a little bit more important.
That's the weight of it, right? There's so many connected, just with the Scream reboot, there's so many people connected, so many people at the risk of losing their jobs because of such, horrifying actions.
Yeah, and two, I feel like with House of Cards being what they've already established with this show, and I'm not, caught up with it, but it would be easy for them to just say, you know what, nope, they need one statement issuing where Frank is, and then that's it, and then move on.
How many characters have died off screen in some other places?
Yeah, stuff happens all the time. Yeah.
And honestly, they built up Robin Wright so much at this point. I think it's so believable. I think they would be okay going
Buttercup's a badass guy. He
made it.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for the Scream reboot.
And I feel
I'm
like,
gonna check it out.
when was the last Scream made? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been because I remember there was a Halloween special last October. And then that was the last episode.
Because it was coming on MTV.
Maybe?
It was like,
yeah.
yeah,
it's MTV, and then, yeah.
And I admit, I would turn it on and I didn't know what was happening a lot of time. I didn't know who was playing. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I was such a big fan of the movie franchise.
Oh, yes, yes.
And then, so the show, I was kind of like turned off why they did it, especially on MTV, when I'm someone who, MTV was the thing in the 90s, but now I'm like, it's reality TV. So but I know plenty of people whose opinions I respect that love this show. So I'm like, I guess it's pretty good.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be around. It wouldn't be getting this big review.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's one of those things too, like, I mean, I think we talked about it before, sometimes when like a movie franchise gets turned into a series, like, you know, we were talking about Freddy Krueger getting like that back in the 90s.
Yeah, and there was a Friday the 13th series.
Friday the 13th. And it's like, sometimes it doesn't translate as well. Like, why is this a series, you know, so.
But, I mean, Scream was a big phenomenon. I mean, you had all the scary movies that, you know, once you're getting parodied at that point, you're big.
Yeah. I mean, Scream, it was another genre-changing thing because what it did, it got meta. It got real meta with all the tropes and everything when it came to horror pictures, and it was still scary.
And I feel like we never went back. I feel like after that, everyone kind of stayed meta.
Yeah, which kind of got old after a bit. So I'm kind of happy that we're going back to the old schools, you know, like with the Conjuring and stuff. I think when those came about, it kind of switched it back to let's do some horror.
Yeah,
you know?
and what's interesting, and to tie it back to the song that I started this episode with that I didn't even think about in conjunction with that, is that movie Jason Lives, the 6th Friday the 13th, that song is the theme song for, is actually the inspiration for Scream from Kevin Williamson. He touts that movie because that was actually one of the first horror movies to really be a little bit meta, and sort of, you know, there are a lot of nods, and that's why I recommend or watch or listen to the Missing Out podcast with me, Tori J, and Lex Michael on iTunes, guys, where we discussed that for Halloween. I was like, actually, I did a whole podcast where I went on, talked about the Kevin Williamson inspiration and how, like, you know, Scream, and then like even A New Nightmare, like, is also was a very meta Freddy movie before Scream.
New Nightmare was
and
one
that
of my
was
favorites.
why, like, he touts like Jason Lives definitely is the big one, and then so funny. I was like, whoa, I tied that together.
That was good. That was good.
And promoted a podcast. Oh boy, do I digress. Speaking of another thing that I really love, X-Files alum Annabeth Gish is joining The House on Haunted Hill, another Netflix show.
My goodness.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And it's based off of a novel. Was it?
The House on Haunted Hill. This is
like the movie, but it was like originally some type of.
Yeah, it was a book, which is more interesting because I honestly, when I initially thought, I thought it was the video game, and then I'm like, oh no, this is like a book, and I remember the movie, but I didn't realize that this was more of like a deeper story.
I know Silent Hill is that horror genre game one. But yeah, House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, because there was like a House on Haunted Hill like shooting game too. Yeah. Like it was really weird.
I know. I feel like I'm not that well versed on the House on Haunted Hill. What's the story behind that? What's the main, I guess, storyline?
I think it's a house.
Yeah, I mean it's a very generic story. I mean, like, and it's nothing against like the story. It's just like, you know, back in the day, like Last House on the Left, House on Haunted Hill,
which was
those kind of things. Yeah, like that movie still gets me.
I don't sit through. I don't. Sit
Last House on the Left was.
No.
It's kind of different from. What is it? House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm like, there was all these house movies like Amityville Horror, but they were all very different. But that's why I was like, House on Haunted Hill. I don't ever remember like the distinct story.
I don't either.
I sort of remember like the most recent take of the film. I just remember a lot of people coming into one house, and then there was handguns in little caskets that was presented to everybody.
Yeah,
handguns.
I just can't remember what the movie was about because it's pretty shitty though.
Yeah, and that was the thing is I was like, I think you're talking about the remake that was more recent, and I was like, I remember never seeing that because I was like, that sucked, and then I was only thought of the video game, and I was like, oh no, I remember there being another movie too, and I was like, oh, it was an older one,
which makes you wonder like why are they like making this necessarily? Maybe it's a whole new spin, which is good too. Yeah, you know, because a lot of people don't like us don't necessarily.
Yeah, we're like, I was like, this was a very forgettable story.
I'm like, you can't remember, it's new to you.
You know, even Silent Hill, like I meet people today that don't know what Silent Hill is. I feel like I'm okay with some of these reboots.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, if we blink, we miss it. I mean, and I don't think people realize, like, a lot of big movies have been reboots. Like, Scarface was not the original Scarface. And that is a very iconic movie.
I did not know that. She's dropping so much knowledge tonight, y'all.
The Departed, also a remake, and that's amazing.
The Thing was a remake from the Howard Hawks movie.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of like some other, really good remakes because there are plenty. Like,
and that's the thing about reboots and remakes, like just with Scream, like we were talking about, and like with House on Haunted Hill, it does get, there's been this whole thing, does Hollywood not have any original ideas anymore? But it's like, there's never really been an original idea. A lot of stuff has been based off of books or a game or some sort, and it's really about the take that the creator does when they put it on. So for me, it's like, okay, this may be a new interesting one. And yeah, maybe there's been 3 of them already, but that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm fully aboard on that.
You know what? You know how many Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street are? I could like sit here and list them, but I don't really care. There's a buttload of them, and please make more. I will give you all my money. I don't care if it's that good. I still will go, and as long as there's blood and guts and a hockey mask, you got me.
Exactly.
If they remade it, you would so be there again.
Oh yeah, like the Friday the 13th remake, I actually like, not just because Jared Padalecki's in it.
I did like
Ryan
that. I did like the Friday
yeah.
the 13th. I did not necessarily care for Nightmare on Elm Street, but
I
that's
didn't
because
either.
I'm kind of a purist when it comes to that.
When it comes to
franchise,
Freddy,
and I'm just like, this isn't working.
And two, while I like Jackie Earle Haley and thought he was a good choice in some ways, I thought that they didn't really give the Freddy character a lot of the freedom that they did with Robert Englund.
No, they didn't.
And I like that Robert Englund would like to see Kevin Bacon because that'd be something I could see.
That would be interesting.
And if they did that, I'd be open to seeing it.
Yeah, I thought that Freddy was just, it was kind of, it didn't have that charm. That's hard to say for a monster, but
yeah, well, and that was the thing
I feel like
about
the original.
Freddy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you're going into people's dreams, that was kind of his point. Like, he's kind of charming.
Yeah, and that was the thing. That's why Freddy was always a more interesting villain than Jason and Michael Myers, because Freddy had a personality.
Yeah.
You end up liking the guy.
Yeah,
you're like, why do I like you?
Yeah.
I'm okay with letting them sleep in the past. I'm ready. Like I'm ready to make make way for the more the Get Outs, the more It Follows, the more the Witches, the more Babadooks. I'm all for that. Like I'm tired of. I mean, they're classic slasher like films. It's great, but I'm ready for the new age.
I think the only reason I'm okay with it is because, again, like, some of my wife has younger brothers and sisters, and they have no idea about any of this.
It's a way to introduce them.
And so I think it's a great way to introduce them, and then they could go on and find out, where it all came from. I don't know. I completely agree that we should have new stuff going on, but I like the remakes, and I feel like it pays homage to the originals.
Yeah,
it's good.
I mean, although The Conjuring, all of that, like, to me, that was a new kind of way of doing something and creating a whole new franchise. Like Annabelle, all that. They're going to do The Nun next.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. I'm excited.
I'm excited for that. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, it's old school horror and a new twist, which is great. And it's the same thing with House on Haunted Hill. It's like, okay, maybe they're going to do a new twist. It's a reboot. No story is new. Yeah. It's all been done.
And two, especially with Netflix behind this one, like, I've been pleased with Netflix comedy horror as well as their other horror. Like, we were talking about Hemlock Grove and Santa Clarita Diet, and I liked Little Evil, that little movie. It was cute. And so I feel like if they're going to do it, they're probably going to be at least decent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of something that's going to be freaking awesome, hopefully, the CBS is developing a Twilight Zone reboot for their all-access service. And if I don't have it by then, I will definitely be purchasing it the day before it drops, because this is one of my favorite shows of all time. And I don't know, what's your favorite Twilight Zone episode?
Oh, God.
Well, there's so many.
Yeah.
Okay, honestly, to me, my favorite episodes were always the ones where you're stuck in a situation that's very futuristic, but yet realistic. I like, the ones where they get stuck in a different planet and they don't know how to get back. Stories like that just made me think way beyond what I was thinking at the time.
The thing I loved about Twilight Zone was that the progressiveness within it too, like with the original creator of it, wanting to put layers of, using these stories to kind of reflect issues with reality, like, bigotry, things of that nature. Like, there was this one that I really enjoyed, which was about a guy who's stuck on a planet. I forget the exact name. He's stuck on a planet. They create a woman for him who's like a robot or whatever. There's this whole question of human life.
That's the one I'm thinking. Yeah.
And and I'm like, wow, like, that's, for its time, to be talking about some of this stuff. And I know, I mean, you may know that, like, there were certain episodes that the network sometimes was not always, like, cool with kind of, like, airing because of how in-depth it was.
Well, and I think what's really interesting is that CBS All Access is going to be they did Star Trek Discovery and then Twilight Zone. So it's interesting you talk about the episodes that they had issues with. Same thing with Star Trek at the same time, is a lot of it did have to do with the portrayal of same-sex, or different races getting together. And so it's just so interesting to see now, though,
where we're at now.
Yeah. And how, like, that was more of the issue with Kirk and Uhura kissing, as opposed to, like, that's a big deal, seriously.
That's a big deal. And it was, like, the first interracial kiss.
Yeah.
And it was like, And
the same network, which is interesting, because CBS would be considered behind the times now, but they were actually ahead of it back then. And they were on the forefront of showing interracial coupling and things like that on television. And to my knowledge, I don't know any specific episodes, but from what I understand is that those were more of the issues they had, as opposed to, like, it being like a darker subject matter, which was interesting. Yeah. Well, that sort of hasn't changed. I was like,
it's not the same taboos.
I was like, well,
I mean, I still feel like CBS feels behind the times. When I think of all of their TV shows, all of their target audience, seeing them take a chance with something like this, I think it could open up a whole new opportunity. I think it's great. I'm excited. And the fact that Jordan Peele is behind this.
Yes.
He just directed Get Out. He directed another movie as well. I forgot what it is. But he's at the forefront of, like, things that are different right now.
Well, and too, because of the nature of Get Out, I feel like this is definitely going to be more of a modern take, but that same sort of, like, progressive idea of, like, it is sort of an interesting question to pose in these things. Like, I remember one of my favorite episodes, because it's so dark, is there's a child in this town who literally can make anyone disappear.
Yeah.
And, like, everyone is afraid of this child. And I do want to see something similar to that episode, because it's almost like, the millennials, how we have all this power, like, at our fingertips with the iPhones, and, like, how they can go with those sort of ideas. You know?
I think he's the perfect person to do it because of what we saw with Get Out and what we're seeing. Like, I think he's gonna do another one soon about Nazis and stuff like that, and the whole area. Like, he's got a lot, and like and the great thing is, it's like when he had his original show on Comedy Central, it was like everyone knew him as this comedian and stuff, but there were so many layers to that comedy, and so for him to be like such a huge horror fan, it's like this kind of genius that he has to be able to take on this kind of put a new spin on such a loved classic that I still think holds up. Like, I think Sci-Fi, like, on New Year's, like, after New Year's, they do a whole Twilight Zone, like, marathon. And I always look forward to that.
Yeah, always on New Year's Day.
I always look forward to that. So it's kind of, I'm super excited for this, because I think, only issue I have is that it's behind the paywall, and I'm just like, again, y'all, like, do you want this to catch on? Because
again, they're a little behind the times.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, we are going through the pay per service, but a lot of it is we're gonna cancel cable anyway.
It's gonna happen.
They're fighting it, but
all right. So, big question: who's gonna host it?
I know. I'm putting my hat in the ring. I will cut a guy over that. And as I say, like, I don't feel like our host will be a white man. That's all I know. Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. I think given the layers of this, and I think that's what the original creator would like too, just because of the legacy he and his activism on and off
Rod
screen.
Serling was.
You know what I mean? And I think this is like this. It's so great that this is like following in that legacy of him, Peele of all people doing this.
Yeah.
Do we know if they're auditioning? I mean, is it possible that Jordan Peele is the host?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it didn't say anything, and he may, and that would be interesting. But I foresee him picking somebody, because when they redid the Twilight Zone, actually, I remember briefly on UPN, the Twilight Zone existed for about a season, and it was Forrest Whitaker who was the host.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just thought about that, and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
For what it was. I mean, it wasn't, they weren't allowed to do as much, but this was like back when Buffy was on UPN and Veronica Mars, so it was like a good time. Everybody Hates Chris. Yeah, but it only lasted a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any suggestions
of who shows?
As to
other than me?
As to who, as to who you'd want to host.
I don't know.
I love comedians, so I mean, it would have to be somebody really funny, especially because of this. It'd have to be somebody that's really good and like straight but humorous. Yeah,
I think it would have. It definitely needs to be someone with a presence, right? Like someone who's commanding, because there was something so subtle about rock, you know, and it's like, but yet like impactful. So it has to be someone who's not like all over the place, because there's a certain tone to the Twilight Zone that I would love to see continue.
Let's get Hannibal Buress.
Yeah, that would be so funny.
I feel like I'm not thinking that outside the box right now, but I feel like Jordan Peele wouldn't be bad. I feel like,
just host your own show, Jordan.
No, you know why? Because I feel like wasn't Rod Sterling like he wrote the whole thing, right? Like he created the thing.
Yeah,
so I feel like when it's your baby, you have more of an impact on it. Like you know the way you want to present the story. You know the type of story you want to create every episode. So who better than the guy who made it?
Yeah.
I feel like he might be too busy though. Like he has so much going on, and on top of that, and I think the way he is, and I think if you like, you know, follow him on Twitter, you see that he's someone also about bringing other talent on as well. So I feel like he's using this maybe he might use this as a vehicle to bring other people in the forefront. Like what other way, you know, than to have someone host what's going to be such an iconic series, you know?
Let's bring back Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, he was pretty good. So
I do wonder though, like I don't watch it regularly, but isn't Black Mirror sort of similar to this?
No, they don't have a host. So,
okay, I know they don't have a host,
but the
like,
show
in terms
idea
of that,
is very similar.
Outline.
Yes.
So are people kind of worried that it's like maybe might overlap a bit?
I don't know, like, because Black Mirror is a show that I've seen a few episodes, but I've not watched all of it. And two, the nature of Netflix is I just wonder if they're even going to overlap, because Black Mirror may be ending. I don't really know.
I don't think that's
and I mean, yeah, because I'm like, it's a pretty good show, but even then, it's like how many? I mean, there was Once Upon a Time in Grimm, there was Volcano and Dante's Peak.
That is
I mean,
true.
there's always like movies that are like the same, or two TV shows that are kind of the same, and people still watch them.
I think Twilight Zone was always half an hour, unless I'm mistaken. And I feel like the stories were more concise. They were short. You know, they had their main story. It was like a 10-minute episode. Black Mirror is like a 45-minute episode. So it's more of a, you know, a short movie. So I'm hoping they don't overlap. I feel like there's definitely room for both.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, I just thought of this. What about Lakeith Stanfield to host? Which is a guy from Atlanta. He's also in the beginning of the film of Get Out. He's the one who gets snatched in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
I could work. I could see that. He was also in Death Note, which no one likes to talk about.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, and I'm like, I've heard like it is like,
Dude,
oh my god,
it's so bad.
Is it bad?
But yeah,
I feel like I'm gonna get really high and watch it one day though.
Oh yeah, do that.
Yeah.
But no, he would be he'd be a good choice. I think he has a certain presence to him, and he can play serious very well.
That's what I was about to say, because everything in Atlanta that he did, he said straight face, but it was just so absurd that it was so funny.
I can definitely see that.
I loved him in Atlanta.
I've got to look him up, because like I am not caught up with Atlanta.
Okay.
So I'm like, this guy, because way you're describing him, I'm like, that sounds really good. Because
Yeah.
as long as he plays it straight, but like
Yeah.
it's funny, like
Yeah.
it'd be good.
That's what matters. Oh
Yeah.
man, seeing that Twilight Zone prime
Yeah.
time, I'm so excited.
Well, we are debuting a new segment today, guys, and what better way to segue into our Dangerous in Love?
I know, right? Because
Yeah.
even in horror TV, there is love, you know? There's always love.
Always.
In the midst of blood and guts and
Oh,
killing,
God.
you know, love holds us together.
There's always a Linda.
Love is scary too, guys.
Love is scary. It's the scariest thing, maybe. I don't know.
That's a great tagline.
It's the scary, love is the scariest thing. So what this segment does is we basically highlight some, you know, you guys, you know, love ships. I love ships. We all love ships. So, you know, highlighting certain ships occasionally. And the first one to highlight is Rick and Michonne from The Walking Dead. And the question that fans asked at the Walker Stalker Atlanta Michonne panel a week and a half ago was, is there a Rick and Michonne baby on the way in Walking Dead? Basically, when asked how would Rick and Michonne feel about having a baby, Andrew Lincoln was like super, super for it. And if we just like see the video now, like he's like answering it, and he's basically really enjoying it. He's like, we need to repopulate. Yeah. Yeah, and you know, the And then it's like, hey, wait a minute. You know, Michonne's the one that's going to have to carry the baby here. You know, so, and she wants this, and one of the answer was that, you know, she wants to stay agile because, you know, of everything. And, you know, Michonne already lost a child.
Yeah.
You know?
She did.
Yeah, and it's like, can they go through that again? So she's sort of for it. She says the practicality of it, she doesn't know, but she said Michonne would have to think about it. But, you know, fans overall were really happy. I'm happy. I ship Michonne so much.
I ship Michonne because they are our answer to Andrea in this universe. And I really like that. I thought that they have more chemistry too. Yeah. And it's really interesting to see that dynamic on the show. But I don't want to see Michonne pregnant. She's my badass. She's his right-hand man.
No, to be fair, Maggie got pregnant on the show.
And Maggie stayed pretty badass.
Yeah. She did. And I think, and that was a great thing. And it's one of those things where it's like, with Michonne, I kind of want to see more exploration of other things before she has to take on. And she's been a mother to like Rick's kids too. So it's not like we haven't seen her do motherly stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, so I don't feel like we need that because we see it already. Yeah.
I mean, and it's one of those things. Maybe at the end. Yeah. You know, because right now, maybe at the end of the series.
Baby at the end of the series.
Well, you know, just like right now, they need to like first of all, just with everything that's going on there, they need to rectify stuff. And it's just like I would hate for it to be her main plot being Michonne pregnant.
Yeah, because that really worked really well for Maggie. It made sense, and that was the characters that you root for as far as a couple at that time, and it made total sense storyline-wise.
Yeah, it was in the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, and everything's kind of getting turned on its head with that because, like, she's Andrea's kind of character and stuff, and Carol's kind of getting her stuff from the comics. So, but, yeah, we'll see if that actually happens. The other thing that Andrew said that he was really excited for was for Rick to say, "I love you, Michonne."
Yeah.
Has he not said it?
He has not said it out loud yet.
He needs to step it up. Like, honestly, she does so much for the whole group, for Rick. She's there as, Carl's mother. It works. I feel like she developed his character so much. And in a time when, you know, he has to murder people all the time and he's going through all these terrible things.
She was his rock.
That's his rock. That's the one stable thing he could come home to. Like he needs to step it up and hurry up.
I mean, it's shown in action, I think, but yeah, he hasn't said it. And that was when he actually mentioned that in the video. I was like, you know, he hasn't said that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I mean, honestly, everything went to crap as soon as they hooked up, honestly, with Negan and stuff, but it's like, you know, now... Well, and they're separated right now on the show in terms of location. So it's kind of like, when are we even going to see them on screen again together? I don't like waiting to see my couples. But, yeah. Another one is Will They, Won't They when it comes to Z Nation. We're in season 4, and our... two leads, Roberta Warren and Murphy, there's been this ongoing situation with them. This is a fan-made video, in terms of, like, the many videos. I looked it up, y'all. There's so many videos about Warren and Murphy, so many fan-made videos that are just kind of makes me want to ship them even more. And I didn't even think of it at first. But right now with what's going on in the current season, Murphy having lost his daughter, and Warren kind of becoming more psychic and their connection coming back, fans are kind of wondering, are they going to grow closer romantically? And they did say at San Diego Comic-Con a couple months ago, when asked, was there romantic feelings between the pair, Kalita Smith, who plays Warren, she played coy and said, "I don't know." And I think what we're seeing right now, and that's kind of code for this is probably gonna happen, so I think it would be interesting. It does kind of fall into a little bit of the trope of the two main characters kind of coming together, but I think they're very compatible, in terms of just her being the strong lead woman, and him, he has this gray area, so she kind of keeps him in check, and I think it would be nice to see them hook up. But once again, I'm sort of like at the end, like not right now,
Well, you said, what season are they in? 4?
4. They're in season 4. And with sci-fi, I don't know how, sometimes season 4 is like the death note for most of their shows. Like, I'm still mad about Atlantis.
Sci-fi doesn't really invest for the long haul.
Yeah, no.
That's a Sharknado.
So that's why I'm kind of worried. I'm like, okay, season 4, maybe they need to start tying stuff up, and maybe this needs to happen. And another trope, and we're going to get into when it comes to the leads hooking up, when it comes to Lucifer.
Yeah.
Another will they, won't they when it comes to Lucy and Chloe. on Lucifer, and
I love when they call him Lucy.
And this is a video of a moment that they shared recently in one of the most recent episodes when it came to Chloe's birthday. And it can sometimes seem like a bad trope when the leads get together, but some fans are really pushing for it, right? Yeah. Especially this season. I guess they shared a kiss or something in the previous season and things like that. So people are like, where's this going? Are the two leads, should they kind of have a romance? And I know you have an opinion about this.
Yes, I am a long, loyal Lucifer watcher, and I love this show because it's very fun and cheeky, even though it's Satan, it's Castle with Satan, guys, but it's fun. And the thing about Chloe and Lucifer is they work so well as partners, and I really don't want to see this show have like the moonlighting curse. And I get that Castle, the show I just referenced, they got together, but we all know how that was behind the scenes, guys. But yeah, like that's the thing. It's like I really should not stop. But yeah, like with Lucifer and Chloe, the thing is Chloe has a daughter. So even though he is good devil, like in the show, it's still a little weird she's a mom. And also her ex-husband is also a detective, and he is not a bad guy. And that's the thing is, I don't want to see Chloe and Lucifer together because I don't think it would really do either one of their characters any service as far as to like advance. Because too, the reason that Lucifer backed off, even though he was interested in her in the past, is, spoiler alert, she was put here in his path by his father, God. And like, so he feels like she has no free will in her feelings for him. Oh. So, and that's the thing is like, there's no way of them getting past that ever. And two, it's actually one of the more endearing qualities of Lucifer is how he's protective of her without them. And especially at the end of that scene when he gives her birthday gift, it is a bullet from when she shot him on a necklace.
When she penetrated him.
Yeah, he's like, well, since I'll probably never penetrate you, like this is a reminder of when you penetrated me. And like, it's so cute and sweet. And that's why I don't want to see it ruined by them having sex. And I think, too, as I say, she's a mom, and her ex-husband is not this bad guy. Like, Dan is always there, and Lucifer even likes him right now.
Do you think it wouldn't be, maybe, I guess the question is, do you think it would stunt their plot lines, or would you think it'd be some kind of new, terrain to sort of, I think that's what the question is for me, because I'm like, wouldn't it, like, you just described, like, this idea about the chowder, and like, wouldn't it be interesting her having to explain your stepdad is the devil? How does that work?
Well, and two, it's just like I don't want to see that on this show. Like them have to explain that. And two, I'm like that's not what this show is. Is like it's sort of it's. I mean, and Lucifer is this very petulant child, like to God. I mean, and it's really more of an endearing thing about him. And two, like him having these dalliances with these, random chicks, and like, he married this chick in Vegas that came back. Those things make sense for the character, but to see him get in these relationships doesn't seem to make sense with the character that they have. And I don't think it would serve Chloe either, because it would sort of bring her down in the long run.
So, Devil's Advocate, didn't you say she was put here for him?
Well, and that is the thing. And that's why it's like, it's way more interesting if they don't get together. Like, because it's
a question of free will.
Yeah.
Does man have free will? Okay, I get you.
Well, and she was put there in his path, like, by God
destiny, right?
Like, to sort of get Lucifer on this right path. And it's more about getting Lucifer to do, like, God's will as far, and it's really a lot about, like, is the idea of Lucifer really bad? Is it good? I mean, because someone has to punish evil, and that's sort of why he's a cop with her. And it doesn't, and that to me, I was like, that doesn't lead to romance for me. Yeah. But well,
then again,
But I remember reading that the main actor was saying that their relationship, their I don't know if he said exact romance, but he said their relationship is the heart of the show.
Yeah, Tom Ellis has said that, and it really is, because honestly, though, it's like their strong friendship that he really cares about someone at the first time in his life. But even he is still like unsure if that's because of God putting her there. I mean, and stuff like that. But it is good. It shows him to grow as a person? I mean,
I get it.
It's like, is he a person?
Yeah, sometimes the leads shouldn't get together. Like,
yeah.
let's not do the trope or whatever.
No,
I know I had to deal with that with Sleepy Hollow, and I wanted I kind of wanted the 2 leads, and then they just messed that up. But, you know, I get it. I get the argument for sure.
No, you're right. I think if it doesn't grow both characters, then we're okay moving forward that way.
Yeah, too. And that's the thing is if it feels like real destiny, say like the castle situation where it's like, yeah, they're going to get together.
Yeah.
But I just never got that impression from the show. And, you know, I've talked to Joe Henderson a few times as well. I don't think that that's really where they intended either. Yeah.
And that's the way to go.
You're
Don't
crushing
force
some
it.
shippers' hearts.
Yeah,
right
I
now. Keep hope alive, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, too, it is a network show. I mean,
true.
so
if the powers that be are like, hey, a lot of people are calling for it. I mean, we saw that with Arrow. And
You can't force love, guys. You can't force love.
Exactly. We don't want Chloe to get killed off and then brought back as another character, guys. But yeah, and so we've talked about Lucifer. I guess to go over this week a little bit, Lucifer does Vegas. So it's really funny, guys, if you haven't seen it. So the ex-wife we were talking about a second ago comes back, Candy. Then he married in Vegas. So there's a fun little like sort of bottle episode where it's him and Ella, the lab tech, and we get to see some of her. She gets a little sexy in this episode, and she's usually a little bookish, and so it's nice to see her out of her element counting cards in the casino. And there was Lauren Holly had a strange guest appearance, as well as a guy from Weeds who I love. So you're always seeing like fun little strange characters pop up on Lucifer that I like, and usually they'll have fun nods to like horror stuff, like Charisma Carpenter's been in episodes.
That's cool.
And yeah, I really missed Tom Welling in the last few though, and so that's the thing.
He's been on it, right? Is he a regular or?
Yeah, he is slated for, I think it was initially 10, but I think Tom asked for 2 or 3 more from when I heard him on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, like, so Tom Welling really has been enjoying this show because it is fun and he kind of gets to be the foil as the police captain now. And so, yeah, hopefully the next episode his character will be back because he's really brought a new element. Because as, like he said, everyone gets along on the show now. Like, now that Dan's like, we're bros, whatever.
Oh, and I miss Tom Welling.
Yeah.
I saw all of Smallville. Like, I love Tom Welling.
It's great that he's back on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of the people.
He does not age.
Yeah, like, he looks great. Like, it was like, oh, yeah. It's like, it never.
I remember he was playing Superman and Superman's supposed to be like 15 and he was like 28. And I'm like, all right. Like, I believe you. I believe you. I wish high schoolers looked like you when I was back then, but
I know Smallville is the show that even though I love Michael Rosenbaum and loved him as Lex Luthor, I didn't really watch a lot of it. Yeah. Like, so I've gone back and started watching it now just because I'm like, I really like Tom Welling on Lucifer. I didn't know that he was really funny, and I'm seeing it now.
Awesome.
It's so good, and I feel like Michael Rosenbaum, like, he showed his acting skills in that show as well. I'm glad to see Tom Welling. Trying something different.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is actually a pretty good role for him, and it's cute because Chloe has a little bit of crush on him. That's another thing about the Lucifer
and
Chloe thing.
Chloe liked him in Smallville too.
Oh yeah,
hey,
that
Chloe
Chloe.
liked him too, and another Chloe likes him on another show.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
It's like all of Ash's girlfriends have been named Linda on Evil Dead. You know, some people just have a thing.
Happens,
pretty well, yeah.
Can't escape your type.
I know. It's like Tammy on Parks and Rec.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh boy, I'm just gonna keep making references.
Yeah,
so let's just change the subject. Castlevania, you guys both watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Castlevania, a new show on Netflix. Actually, I'm not sure how new it is. It's
been out for a bit.
Right?
I'm waiting for season 2.
Yeah, it's good. So it's an anime version of so I played the video game when I was young. Mm-hmm. Is it based on a book? Do we know?
Well, I don't know about the video. I know the show is based off of the video game.
Off the video game.
And everything, so.
Yeah.
And it's about, Dracula.
I think usually, so I'm not a big fan of anime for the most part, but I wanted to give this a shot because it looked good. And most anime, their dialogue is very expository, and I'm not a big fan of that. This show did a good job of like laying everything out there. The graphics were great. The storyline was easy to follow. It starts off, a woman is stabbing some zombies outside or some skeletons outside of Dracula's house. And she's going to meet Dracula because Dracula possesses a lot of skills in the
Knowledge
world of
that
magic.
wants, yeah.
Yeah, so, they eventually hit it off, and I believe they get married for about 10, 20 years.
And then she's burned at the stake,
and
because
then
there's a whole witch hunt of witches. Or more so,
That's
people
where
are
we get the
against
term.
And it's and I think one of the things I really like about the show is like how quick the episodes are. They're like
so
super quick. You can go. I went through the whole season pretty much in one sitting. I didn't even feel like I binged it because it was like 15 or 20 minutes each one.
And it was only like 4 or 5 episodes. So I think they do a good job of, Dracula is a very well-known character, and we were talking about reboots earlier. I think it's another way to bring Dracula back into the fold for people that don't know much about him.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you can feel like, oh my gosh, another Dracula thing. But I think it's also, once again, like we were talking about, when depending on the spin they put on it, which, Castlevania does really, I mean, it's on the video game, but they do a very good job with the actual characters and its portrayal in the anime, which is really cool. And it's a new spin on it, and it's a lot of action, but it's actually very gory too.
It's very
This
gory.
anime is super gory. There's blood, there's guts, there's everything. Everything's gushing in this anime.
When they burn his wife, he's like, I'm gonna make sure you guys are punished a year from now. I don't know why he gave them a year. Apparently he needed to summon the demons. It took a year.
And it's kind of like the slap bet, where you want to build it up.
Yeah. No, it does a really good job of it. I'm waiting for season 2 for sure. I don't know how much longer we're gonna have to wait for
I don't know
though.
either. But yeah, after he gives them the year, he comes back and there's blood everywhere. You're right. It's completely
It's
gory.
really gory.
There's children covered in
most
blood.
anime.
Yeah.
Some
Anime
shit.
is sex and violence, but they do it in cartoon form and show it to kids. It's cool. Yeah. And I think that's the perfect way to end this.
Yes.
Sex and violence in cartoon form is okay. But while you guys are on our YouTube page or on iTunes, be sure to give us those thumbs up or those 5 stars. And if you put a review there on iTunes for us, guys, we will read it on the air, and I'll even do it in my sexy voice.
Get it.
And also be sure to hop over to our sister network, the Popcorn Talk. If you love horror, you might like horror movies. So there is horror movie talk on Popcorn Talk with our lovely engineer Anthony, you guys have probably heard, as well as the lovely Carrie Lane and Oliver Drennan, who may pop in from time to time with us. And I am Lucretia Lyon, so you guys can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. And how about you guys? Where can they keep up the conversation with you?
Once again, I'm Chauncey K. Robinson. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR.
And again, my name's Roger, and you can find me on Twitter under Roger Corral. It's Golden Corral. Spell it like Golden Corral.
Well, all right, so we'll keep it creepy till next week, guys. Same bat time, same bat channel, probably.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.